Friends and family of 19-year-old Suzanne Streeter and 18-year-old Stacy McCall say it's not like them to just leave and not tell anyone where they're going.
She calls and lets me know where she's going to be. She's never missed work. She's a very conscientious young woman.
We're questioning everybody at this time, friends, relatives, anyone that has any information, anyone that may have seen them last, neighbors. We've done neighborhood canvas. We're just checking every lead we can at this time.
This is Suzanne Streeter's mom, Sherrill Levitt. She's also missing. Last seen at her daughter's graduation ceremony at Hammond Student Center on Saturday. She lived in this house on East Delmar in Springfield. That's where police found the three missing women's cars.
She is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Oh, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be.
It can be seen as difficult when you vanish by yourself, but it's harder to disappear when you're not alone. In today's video, we are talking about 3 women who disappeared. The 3 women disappeared from their homes 28 years ago, and to this day, not a trace of them has ever surfaced. The missing were nicknamed the Springfield Three, and with little evidence, it's not a surprise police have hit dead ends. Today, we are going through the history of the victims, the disappearance, the suspects, and the theories. Let's begin. Sherrill Levitt was 47 years old at the time of her disappearance. She was 5 feet tall, 110 pounds, and had short light blonde hair. She also had brown eyes and pierced ears. She was a cosmetologist at a local salon and was a single mother. If alive today, Sherrill would be 75 years old. Sherrill was seen and described as being very close to her daughter. Her daughter's name was Suzanne Streeter. Suzanne Streeter, nicknamed Suzie, was 19 years old. She was 5 feet 2 inches tall and was 102 pounds. She also had shoulder-length blonde hair and brown eyes. She had a scar on her upper right forearm, a small mole on the left corner of her mouth, and pierced ears. If alive today, she would be her mother's age when they disappeared, 47. Suzie didn't just vanish alongside with her mother, but her friend was also with her. Suzie's friend was named Stacy Kathleen McCall. She was 18 years old at the time of her disappearance. Her height was 5 feet 3 inches, she weighed 120 pounds and had dark long blonde hair and light coloured eyes. If alive today, she would be 46 years old. Suzie and Stacy graduated from Kickapoo High School on June 6, 1992. They were last seen at 2 a.m. on the 7th of June, leaving a graduation party they had attended earlier that evening. At some point during the night, they were also spotted at a small town within Springfield which had a population of 2,000 in 1992. The town's name is Battlefield. The 2 friends planned to spend the night at a friend's house. The friend's name was Janelle Kirby, but the pair decided to call it a night when they saw Janelle's house was crowded. It's believed they arrived at Sherrill's home at 1717 East Delmar Street. The reason it's thought they made it back was because their vehicles, purses, jewellery and clothing were all discovered in the house the next day. The last time either girl was seen was at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. Sherrill was last heard from at approximately 11:15 p.m. on June 6 when she was speaking to a friend about painting. Janelle and her boyfriend visited Sherrill's house at around 9 a.m. the next day. They had planned to spend the day at a water park with Suzie and Stacy, and were supposed to leave from Janelle's residence. When they arrived, Janelle found the front door unlocked and entered the home, but found no sign of the 3 women, even though their cars were parked outside. It was also reported to police that a glass lampshade on the porch was shattered, though the light bulb itself was still intact. Janelle's boyfriend helped sweep up the broken glass off the floor. Police later determined this may have destroyed potential evidence. This action was seen as an accident because at the time it was not thought the 3 women would remain missing to this day. Inside the house, Janelle found Sherrill's and Suzie's dog, a Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon, who appeared to be agitated. While looking around, Janelle answered a strange and disturbing call from an unidentified man who made sexual advances. She hung up the phone and immediately received another call of sexual nature. Janelle hung up the phone again. Hours later, Stacy's mother, Janice, also visited the house after failed attempts to reach her daughter by phone. Inside, she noticed all three women's purses sitting on the floor of the living room. She also noticed her daughter's clothing neatly folded from the night before. Suzie and Sherrill's cigarettes were also left inside the house. Janice frantically called the police from the home's telephone to report the missing women. After placing the call, Janice looked through the phone's answering machine. She listened to a strange message, but it was inadvertently erased from the tape. Police were very interested in the call and believed it might have contained clues in the disappearance. Police do not believe it was connected to the other calls Janelle received. Stacy's parents called the police about their daughter's disappearance from Sherrill's home more than 16 hours after the trio was last seen. Other family members and friends visited the home within the following day. Police estimated that the crime scene had been corrupted by at least 10 to 20 people who visited the house. When police arrived on scene, there were no signs of a struggle except for the shattered porch light. Unfortunately, any evidence which might have been left was contaminated. Police noticed Sherrill's bed had been slept in. It can't be confirmed if it was her, however. All personal property was left behind, including purses, keys, cigarettes, money, cars, and the family dog. These women vanished, and any evidence which might have assisted the police was ruined. Any hope in their recovery was lost that day. On the 31st of December 1992, an unidentified man called the America's Most Wanted hotline saying he had information about the women's disappearance. Tragically, the call was disconnected when the switchboard operator attempted to link up with Springfield investigators. Police said the caller had prime knowledge of the abductions. They publicly appealed for the man to contact them, but he never did. Suzie and Sherrill were declared legally dead in 1997, however they are still officially filed under missing persons. A little later, investigators received a tip that the women were buried in the foundations of a south parking garage at Cox Hospital. In 2007, crime reporter Keith Lee Bard invited Rick Norland, a mechanical engineer, to scan the corner of a parking garage with a GPR, also known as a ground-penetrating radar. Rick found 3 oddities roughly the same size that were consistent with grave site locations. 2 of the oddities were parallel, the other one was perpendicular. A police spokesperson said the person who provided the tip provided no evidence or logical reasoning behind the theory at the time or since then. They also said the parking garage began construction in September 1993, over a year after the disappearances. They claimed digging up the area and reconstructing it would be extremely costly, and without any reasonable belief that the bodies are located there, it would be illogical to do so. And because of those reasons they provided, they don't intend to. Investigators have determined this lead is not credible. A former assistant at the prosecutor's office said the tip came from someone who either claimed to be a psychic or claimed to have a dream or vision about the case. Robert Craig Cox is currently in prison serving a life sentence. He was convicted of robbery and kidnapping, and he's a suspect in the murder case which occurred in Florida. Robert told journalists he knew 3 women that had been murdered and buried. He claimed their bodies would never be recovered. In 1992, Robert had been living in Springfield, and when he was interviewed, he told investigators he was with his girlfriend at church the morning the women disappeared, which his girlfriend did confirm. However, she later recanted her statement and said Robert had asked her to say that. Robert also stated he was at his parents' home the night of the disappearance. This alibi was confirmed. Police and investigators are uncertain if Robert was involved in this case or if he is seeking recognition for alleged murders he didn't commit. There is a strong possibility that Robert is making this up. He has stated, however, to authorities and journalists that he will disclose what happened to the 3 women after his mother dies. Police say they still receive tips, more than 5,000 tips total, but despite that, these women are still off the radar. In June 1997, a bench was dedicated to the victims in Springfield's Grove Park. This case has been featured on shows such as America's Most Wanted, Investigation Discovery, and 48 Hours. It seems possible that Robert might have ambushed the women inside the house. Maybe they left a window or a door unlocked by accident. Robert might have threatened killing Suzie, and Sherrill wouldn't risk her daughter's life and Stacy wouldn't want to risk her friend's life. By that point, the women might have been transported to a vehicle and taken to a new location. In the movement from the porch to the vehicle, a glass lampshade was broken, and later on, Robert killed all 3 of the women and buried them in the lot. Robert might have known that it was unlikely they would dig up that area, so that's why he's so confident in why the bodies won't be discovered. And maybe the reason he wants to wait until his mother dies is because he did horrible things to the women and doesn't want her to find out, or maybe he just doesn't want to deal with her. It's all speculation by this point. This theory seems a bit unlikely. They all had plans. Both Suzie and Stacy had plans to go to the water park the very next day. So I don't think all 3 women would run out the door. They didn't even take their car. There was no reports of seeing 3 women walking down a road. Maybe they had money on the side, but without evidence, it's just theories. What makes it unlikely is Sherrill. If alive today, she would be 75 years old, and I don't think there would be a 75-year-old lady with no medical issues. I also find it weird that Stacy would run away with them. They were friends, but it just seems a bit unlikely. Either way, we all want them to be alive and well, but we just don't have all the pieces to the puzzle. I don't really see a serial killer trying to cover up a murder. I would think a serial killer would just kill the women and walk away, not bury them in a place that hasn't been discovered for 28 years. I also don't think a rapist would kidnap all 3 women just to kill them. It seems that they might have run away, it was a random attack, or there was a personal reason we don't know about. When I decided to cover this case, I was worried that at the end of the video I would be no closer to understanding what the hell happened on the 6th of June 1992. But I feel like I've gotten a better understanding of this case. I'm annoyed at how many mistakes were made, and I'm annoyed that 3 objects of similar size have been discovered buried under a car park, but there's no indication that they will ever be dug up. But with the little information we have and our minds at work, we can come up to our own conclusions. I'd like to know your thoughts about this case in the comments. Consider subscribing so you are informed when I upload next. All links and sources are in the description, and remember, their stories are our stories. Good night.